I used to believe that genuine love would always be reciprocated. As a renovation contractor, I knew how to transform worn-out apartments into beautiful homes. When I met Brooke, a stunning woman with captivating charm, she had an apartment that desperately needed work. I thought this was my chance to prove my love, to show her what I could offer. But something in her eyes never quite felt sincere. I just chose not to see it. Before I dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever trusted someone too much. Now let me tell you about how I learned the most expensive lesson of my life about trust and personal boundaries. I met Brooke on a Thursday afternoon in April at a local coffee shop downtown. She worked in marketing, and from our first conversation she seemed ambitious and successful. We talked about our careers, our dreams, and I found myself drawn to her energy. When she discovered I specialized in home renovations, her interest piqued noticeably. We went on a second date, then a third. Everything felt perfect, like we were building something real. Brooke had this way of making me feel important. She listened when I talked about my work, asked thoughtful questions about different renovation techniques, and seemed genuinely fascinated by what I did. She told me about her childhood, growing up in a modest home, always dreaming of having a beautiful place of her own someday. That vulnerability made me want to help her, to be the person who could make her dreams come true. After 2 months of dating, Brooke invited me to see her apartment. It was located in an older building near the city center, close enough to downtown but just far enough to be affordable. The moment I stepped inside, I understood why she had mentioned it so carefully. The place was a 2-bedroom unit with serious potential, but it had clearly been neglected. The bathroom fixtures were outdated and stained. The flooring throughout consisted of worn, discolored carpet that smelled faintly of mildew. The kitchen cabinets were falling apart, their laminate surfaces peeling at the edges. Brooke walked me through each room, her voice tinged with embarrassment. "I know it is not much," she said quietly. "I just cannot afford to fix it up right now. I guess I will have to live with it like this for a while." The sadness in her voice melted my heart. Here was this amazing woman, working hard every day, stuck in a place that did not reflect who she was or could become. Without thinking it through, I heard myself say, "Let me help you. I can do the work for free. You would just need to cover the materials." Her eyes widened with surprise, then filled with what I interpreted as gratitude and affection. She threw her arms around me. "You are incredible, Maxwell. I cannot believe you would do that for me." Standing there in that shabby apartment holding her, I felt like a hero. This was how you showed someone you cared, I thought. This was real commitment. We spent the next evening planning the renovation. I took measurements, made lists, calculated material costs. We would start with the bathroom, replacing the toilet, updating the fixtures, and installing new tile. Then we would tackle the flooring throughout the main living areas, laying down quality engineered hardwood. Finally, we would renovate the kitchen with new cabinets, countertops, and appliances. I estimated the materials alone would cost around $13,000, and the labor would take approximately 6 weeks of evening and weekend work. Brooke nodded along enthusiastically, occasionally squeezing my hand and telling me how lucky she felt. The first week I dove into the bathroom renovation. I shut off the water, removed the old toilet that was probably installed in the 1980s, and dealt with corroded pipes that needed replacing. I purchased a new toilet, a nice one with efficient flushing and a modern design, for $600. Brooke stopped by a few times during that first week, bringing me coffee and sandwiches, watching me work with apparent admiration. She even cooked dinner for me one evening when I worked late, and we ate together on her living room floor, laughing about the dust and chaos. But small things began to shift. Brooke started asking questions that felt slightly off. "How much do you think this will increase the apartment value?" she asked one evening, watching me install the new bathroom vanity. I answered casually, not thinking much of it. "With all the upgrades, probably $30,000 to $40,000 in value." She nodded slowly, a strange expression crossing her face that I could not quite read. Her text messages became less frequent when I was not at her apartment. When we did see each other, our conversations increasingly centered on renovation progress rather than us as a couple. I suggested going to the movies one weekend, and she declined, saying she was exhausted. When I proposed a nice dinner out, she said, "Let us save money for the apartment materials instead." I told myself she was just stressed with work, that once the renovation was complete, we would have more time to focus on our relationship. Week 2 and 3 consumed my life as I tackled the flooring project. I arrived at 6 each morning before heading to my paying jobs, then returned every evening to work until 10 or 11 at night. The old carpet removal alone took 3 days. Underneath, I discovered water-damaged subflooring in several spots that needed repair before I could install anything new. I replaced those sections, then began laying the engineered hardwood I had carefully selected with Brooke. The flooring covered approximately 800 square feet across the living room hallway and both bedrooms. I chose a medium-toned oak with subtle grain patterns that would complement various decorating styles. The material cost $3,200, purchased with my credit card. I worked methodically, ensuring each plank clicked perfectly into place, taking pride in the transformation happening beneath my hands. During week 4, I started the kitchen renovation. This was the most extensive part of the project. I demolished the old particle board cabinets that had swollen from years of moisture exposure. The countertop was cheap laminate, scratched and burned in multiple places. I ripped it all out, patched and painted the walls, then began installing custom oak cabinets I had ordered from a supplier I trusted. The rich wood grain brought immediate warmth to the space. For the countertops, Brooke and I had selected granite in a neutral gray tone with subtle flecking. The slabs alone cost $2,000, and I paid extra for professional installation since granite requires precision cutting and support. We upgraded all the appliances too. I purchased a stainless steel refrigerator, a smooth top range, and a built-in dishwasher, spending another $5,500. Every purchase went on my cards with Brooke, promising she would pay me back gradually once she got her next promotion. The bathroom completion happened in week 6. Beyond the toilet, I installed a new bathtub shower combo with modern fixtures, tiled both the walls and floor with cream-colored ceramic, and mounted a custom vanity with an LED-lit mirror. The transformation was stunning. What had been a dingy, depressing bathroom now looked like something from a home design magazine. The total bathroom cost reached $2,800. By my calculation, I had invested $13,500 in materials alone, not counting the hundreds of hours of skilled labor I provided for free. But the financial cost was not what troubled me. It was Brooke herself. Her physical presence at the apartment decreased dramatically after week 3. She stopped bringing me meals. "I have a huge project at work," she explained when I asked about it. "I am completely swamped." Fair enough, I thought. I started buying fast food, eating quickly amid the construction dust, then getting back to work. I wanted to finish so we could finally spend quality time together. Weekends became particularly lonely. I would text Brooke, suggesting we take a break and do something fun together, just the two of us. Her responses were consistently dismissive. "I really need some personal time, Maxwell. I hope you understand." Yet her social media told a different story. I would see her Instagram stories showing her at brunch with friends, laughing at outdoor concerts, enjoying herself everywhere except with me. Not a single photo featured me or acknowledged the work I was doing. When I tried addressing it directly, she became defensive. "Are you keeping tabs on me?" she snapped one evening when I mentioned seeing her posts. "I am allowed to have a life, Maxwell. You are being too clingy." Her words stung, and I retreated, convincing myself that I was indeed being too sensitive, too needy. I threw myself harder into the renovation, believing that completion would fix everything. One morning I arrived earlier than usual and found Brooke already at the apartment, photographing each room with her phone. She seemed startled when I walked in. "Oh, hey, I just wanted to document the progress," she said quickly, lowering her phone. Something about her expression felt dishonest, but I nodded and got to work. My best friend Travis stopped by during week 5 to see how things were going. He walked through the apartment with an increasingly troubled expression. When we stepped outside to my truck, he turned to me seriously. "Bro, do you realize you have put $13,000 into an apartment you do not own?" "It is for someone I love," I replied defensively. "You have known her for 3 months. Has she offered to split any of these costs? Does she even act like your girlfriend anymore?" Travis pressed. "She is going through a stressful time at work. She will appreciate all this when it is done." Travis shook his head. "Man, I hope you are right. But from where I stand, it looks like you are being used. Please be careful." I dismissed his concerns. Travis had been through a bad divorce. He was naturally cynical about relationships. I was different. Brooke was different. We had something real. Week 7 arrived and I added the finishing touches. I painted all the walls in a warm gray that made the space feel modern and inviting. I installed new light fixtures throughout, including a stunning chandelier-style piece above the dining area. I hung quality curtains that Brooke had picked out the last item on our list. Standing in the completed apartment, I felt exhausted but satisfied. The transformation was remarkable. Every surface gleamed. The space felt twice as large, sophisticated, and comfortable. This would make Brooke happy. This would bring us back together. I called Brooke on a Saturday afternoon after putting away my tools and cleaning up every trace of construction debris. "Hey, it is finished. The whole thing. Can you come see it?" My voice carried both pride and nervous anticipation. "Oh, that is great," she replied, her tone oddly flat. "I will come by this evening around 7. Those few hours of waiting felt eternal. I kept walking through the apartment, adjusting small things, making sure everything was perfect. I imagined her reaction, her joy, maybe even tears of happiness. I pictured us celebrating, perhaps planning to move forward together, maybe even discussing me moving in. At 6:45, I showered and changed into clean clothes. This felt like a significant moment, a milestone in our relationship. Brooke arrived at 7:15 wearing a flattering dress and makeup, looking more put together than she had in weeks. My heart lifted. Maybe she had dressed up to celebrate, maybe she planned to take me out to dinner to say thank you. As she walked through the door, her eyes widened genuinely. She moved from room to room, slowly running her hands along the smooth granite counters, admiring her reflection in the new bathroom mirror, walking barefoot across the warm hardwood floors. "Wow, Maxwell. This is beautiful. Better than I ever imagined." Her voice held wonder, and for a moment I felt vindicated. All the work, the money, the exhaustion had been worth it to see that expression on her face. "I am so glad you love it," I said, moving closer to her. "Now, we can finally focus on us. Maybe we could even talk about the future, about what comes next for." "Maxwell, I need to talk to you about something." Her interruption was abrupt, her tone shifting to something businesslike and distant. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "What is it? I think we should end things here. Between us, I mean." She said it simply, as if commenting on the weather. The room seemed to tilt. "What do you mean, end things, Brooke? I just spent 6 weeks. I know, and the apartment looks amazing. But honestly, I think we moved too fast. I do not feel the connection I thought I did." She crossed her arms, not meeting my eyes. "But you said you loved me. You said I was incredible. You." My voice broke slightly. She shrugged, a gesture so casual it felt like a slap. "I thought I felt that way. I was wrong. People make mistakes." I looked around at the transformed space, at everything I had poured myself into. "What about all of this, all the work I did?" Brooke followed my gaze, and then something shifted in her expression. A small smile played at her lips, not warm or apologetic, but something closer to satisfaction. "Well, thanks for the value boost. This place is worth so much more now than when you started." Her voice carried no gratitude, only a cold acknowledgement of fact. I stood frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. "Value boost, that is what you are calling this. Look, I appreciate what you did, but let us not make this dramatic. You volunteered. I never forced you." She checked her phone already, distancing herself emotionally. "I volunteered because I thought we had a future together. Because you made me believe. That is not my responsibility, Maxwell. You made your own choices." Her words were ice. She left 20 minutes later after some additional cold exchanges that only deepened my shock. I sat on the new hardwood floor in the empty apartment, surrounded by all my work, feeling hollowed out. The beautiful space mocked me, each upgraded feature a reminder of my foolishness. That night I could not sleep. I kept replaying moments from the past 2 months, seeing things I had deliberately ignored, the way her interest spiked when she learned about my skills, how she had steered conversations toward the renovation value, her decreasing presence as the work progressed. I opened my laptop and looked at her social media profiles, something I had avoided doing too much before, not wanting to seem possessive. What I found made my blood run cold. Brooke had been documenting the renovation extensively on her Instagram, posting photos of each completed room. But she had cropped me out entirely, never mentioning who did the work. Her captions read like she had accomplished it herself. Finally upgraded my space. New beginnings ahead. The post had hundreds of likes and comments praising her taste and success. I scrolled further and felt my heart stop. 3 weeks ago, while I had been installing her kitchen cabinets, Brooke had posted a photo with a man named Kyle, his arm around her waist. The caption said, "Perfect evening with this one." The comments from her friends suggested they had been seeing each other for a while. Kyle had commented on her renovation posts too. "Cannot wait to hang out in the new place, babe." Babe. She had been calling someone else babe while I demolished and rebuilt her apartment. My shock transformed into something harder. I kept searching and found something else that crystallized everything. Brooke had listed the apartment on a rental website. The listing showed all my work described as fully renovated luxury apartment move-in, ready all new appliances and finishes. The monthly rent she was asking $2,300. The previous tenant, according to public records I looked up, had paid $1,400. Brooke was going to make an extra $900 every single month thanks to my $13,000 investment and 6 weeks of labor. She had used me completely, planned it, executed it, and now was profiting from it while discarding me like construction debris. I sat there until dawn, cycling through emotions: hurt, anger, humiliation, rage. But slowly, underneath all that, a different thought began forming. What if I did not have to accept this? What if there was a way to respond, to take back what was mine? At 8 in the morning, I started researching. I typed into search engines every variation of "can I take back renovations I paid for, legal rights to materials I purchased, removing improvements from property." I read forum posts, legal advice columns, and property law basics. One thread caught my attention where a lawyer explained that without a written contract stating that materials were gifts, and if the person retained all receipts, those materials technically remained their property. I had kept every single receipt, every invoice, every credit card statement. $13,500 documented precisely. At 9:30, I called a property attorney named Mr. Patterson, whose name I found through a legal referral service. I explained my situation, trying to keep emotion out of it, just presenting the facts. When I finished, there was a pause before he spoke. "Do you have any written agreement with this woman, any contract or even text messages where you stated the materials were a gift?" "No contract. The text messages just show her agreeing to let me do the work and thanking me. Nothing about it being a gift." I pulled up my phone to verify as I spoke. "And you have receipts for everything you purchased, every single item. I am meticulous about that for tax purposes." "Then, legally, Mr. Maxwell, you have a strong case. If you purchased materials with your own funds and installed them without a written agreement transferring ownership, those items remain your property. You have the right to remove them." "Remove them? You mean take everything back out?" "Exactly. I can draft a formal notice giving her 72 hours to respond. If she does not agree to reasonable compensation for the materials, you can legally remove everything you installed. I should note that this would be nuclear option in terms of the relationship, but given what you have described, that relationship is already over." "Do it," I said without hesitation. "Draft the notice." Mr. Patterson sent the formal legal notice to Brooke via email and certified mail that Monday afternoon. The notice detailed every item I had purchased and installed, listed the costs, and stated that I would be removing all materials if she did not respond within 72 hours with a reasonable settlement offer. Brooke called me within an hour, her voice shaking with fury. "Are you insane? You cannot just take apart my apartment. This is crazy. It is completely legal, Brooke. I purchased those materials. You never compensated me. They belong to me." I kept my voice level, refusing to match her anger. "I will sue you. You are destroying my property." Her threat sounded hollow even to my ears. "I am removing my property. Consult with a lawyer if you want. Mine says I am within my rights. You have 72 hours to make this right, or I am taking everything back." I ended the call before she could respond further. She called back twice more that evening, alternating between threats and attempts at manipulation. "Maxwell, we can work this out. You are being unreasonable." Then when that did not work, "Fine, destroy my home. Show everyone what kind of person you really are." I did not answer either call. The time for conversation had passed. Thursday morning arrived exactly 72 hours after the notice. Brooke had not responded with any settlement offer. At 8 in the morning, I pulled up to her building in a rented moving truck. Travis, along with 2 other friends, Leo and Marcus, met me there. I had explained the situation to them, and they had volunteered immediately. "Let us go get your stuff back, bro," Travis had said simply. Using the key I still had, we entered the apartment. Brooke had apparently moved her personal belongings out temporarily, leaving only the renovations. Smart of her, really. We started systematically. The bathroom took about an hour. We carefully removed the toilet I had installed, along with the new bathtub fixtures, the vanity, and even the LED mirror. We wrapped everything in moving blankets to avoid damage. The ceramic tiles could not be salvaged, but everything else was still in perfect condition. I had installed it all carefully, and I removed it with the same precision. The kitchen required 2 hours. We took down every cabinet, numbering them to remember the configuration. The granite countertop was heavy, requiring all 4 of us to maneuver it safely down to the truck. The appliances came next: the stainless steel refrigerator, the range, the dishwasher. Each one had cost me hundreds of dollars. Each one was leaving with me. The flooring proved most challenging. Using a flat pry bar, we carefully lifted each engineered hardwood plank. Some broke the tongues, snapping under pressure, but I managed to save about 70% of the material. It took 3 hours to remove 800 square feet of flooring, revealing the original damaged subfloor underneath. The rooms looked worse than when I had started, concrete patches visible where I had made repairs. Finally, we removed the light fixtures, the chandelier, even the curtain rods and curtains. By 2 in the afternoon, we had loaded everything into the truck. The apartment looked gutted, stripped back to its original condition and beyond. Without a toilet, without flooring, without kitchen facilities, it was essentially uninhabitable. That was not my problem anymore. Brooke returned that evening and immediately called me, screaming incoherently before I could even say hello. "You destroyed my apartment. How could you do this? I am calling the police." "Call them," I replied calmly. "I will show them my receipts and the legal notice. Your own lawyer will tell you that you have no case." She did consult with an attorney. 2 days later, I received a call from Mr. Patterson. Her lawyer contacted me. They looked over the documentation and advised her that she has no grounds for legal action. She is not happy, but she has backed down. I felt no triumph, only a strange emptiness mixed with relief. The apartment I had worked so hard on was destroyed, but I had stood up for myself. I had drawn a line. Kyle, Brooke's boyfriend, apparently disappeared when he saw the state of the apartment. Her rental listing came down immediately, the dream of profit evaporating. She would need to invest significant money now just to make the place livable again, let alone attractive to renters. I sold some of the salvaged materials to other contractors, recovering about $5,000. Some items I used for my own home projects. My total financial loss ended up being around $8,000, still substantial but less devastating than the original $13,500. More importantly, I had recovered something less tangible but infinitely more valuable: my self-respect. The weeks following were difficult, I will not pretend otherwise. The pain was not really about the money or even the wasted time. It was about the betrayal, about having my trust and generosity exploited so calculatingly. I had opened my heart and my wallet to someone I thought cared about me, only to discover I had been nothing more than a means to an end. Travis checked on me regularly, never saying "I told you so," even though he easily could have. He just showed up with pizza or invited me to shoot basketball, giving me space to process everything. Leo and Marcus did the same, their presence reminding me that real friendship looked very different from what Brooke had offered. I threw myself into my work, taking on new projects that actually paid. Interestingly, the story of what happened spread through professional networks, and several clients specifically sought me out because of it. "I heard what you did," one older woman told me when hiring me to renovate her kitchen. "Standing up for yourself like that. Good for you. Too many people let themselves get walked over." She paid me fairly, treated me with respect, and recommended me to 3 of her friends. Gradually, I began to heal. The anger faded, replaced by something calmer and wiser. I learned to set boundaries, to recognize the difference between generosity and self-destruction. I learned that loving someone does not mean sacrificing your dignity or your financial security without any reciprocation or respect. Real love builds together. Real love does not take everything while giving nothing back. I learned that kindness should be intentional, not blind. That protecting yourself is not selfishness, it is survival. That sometimes taking back what belongs to you is the most self-respecting thing you can possibly do. About 4 months later, I ran into Brooke at a grocery store. She saw me first and quickly turned down another aisle, but not before I caught the flicker of shame on her face. I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just a distant curiosity about how someone could live with themselves after treating another person that way. But that was her burden to carry, not mine. I've been asked many times if I regret what I did, if taking everything back was too extreme. My answer is always the same. No, I do not regret it for a second. That action was the first time I truly valued myself over some misguided notion of unconditional kindness. It was the moment I learned that you can be a good person and still refuse to be taken advantage of. Those are not contradictory ideas. They are essential companions. Someone once told me that the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. I reached indifference toward Brooke faster than I expected. She became a lesson learned, a chapter closed, a story that taught me who I wanted to be. Not bitter, not closed off, but wiser and more careful with my heart and my resources. I still do renovation work. I still help people transform their spaces. But now I have contracts, clear agreements, and boundaries that I enforce. I have learned to recognize red flags earlier, to listen when friends express concerns, to trust my instincts when something feels off. The best part is that I sleep soundly now, knowing that I stood up for myself when it mattered most, that I refused to be a doormat, that I took action instead of accepting mistreatment. Those $13,000 in 6 weeks bought me something far more valuable than a renovated apartment. They bought me self-knowledge and self-respect. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone took advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that valuing yourself is never wrong, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take back what is rightfully yours. Stay strong, trust your worth, and never let anyone convince you that self-respect is selfish.